Welcome to the Retirement Halftime Show. I am your host, Alexander Joyce, President, CEO of ReJoyce Financial. You would not play the second half of a game the same way you did the first, especially if you've got the lead. As it relates to retirement, and many of you have that lead, so what do? We maintain it. Maintain your lead in retirement. Stick around. We've got a great show for you. After you've gotten past some of those retirement checklists, if you will, that bucket list, how do you maintain your retirement? As you mature in your retirement, we want to make sure that the first thing that we have in mind is replacing your income.
And I think it's so important. So much of what we discuss that's in this book, it's about just terminology and just understanding the basics, which is so important going into retirement planning. So I think there's just so much good information in here.
The Retirement Halftime Show starts right now. Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement. The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Welcome back. We're here with Alex, learning more about his book, ReJoyce in Your Retirement. And Alex, I want to talk to you about Chapter 3, identifying the income gaps. I know that's really important when people are thinking about retiring or when they first get into retirement. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. What I like to do is try to get our clients to use their imagination, right? And I think it's also very important to understand the first 5 years of retirement. It's kind of like a Saturday, right? So we kind of plan that there's going to be more expenses those first several years of retirement. We know that going in, if you will. And we also try to plan maybe a little bit more than that as well, so there's some cushion. But one thing we also try to do is we try to paint the picture of a mountain. Right? In retirement, it's like Mount Everest, right? There's a lot of adrenaline climbing that mountain, a lot of energy getting to the very top. You're there, right? You stick the American flag in it. It's the dream. You kind of look out and there's some anxiety, right? There's a little bit of fear. And like Mount Everest, there's a lot of injuries, accidents, deaths on the way down. And we paint that picture in terms of there's two distinct phases of someone's financial life. The first phase is climbing that mountain, if you will, which is the accumulation phase. And then the second phase is the distribution phase. When we paint that picture, we want people to know, as we reference in the book, that, on this hand, if you will, the left, that is what we call your income foundation, whether that's a pension if you've got one, whether that's Social Security, maybe you can times that or multiply that by 2. But then over here in this right hand, you've got your lifestyle. So if this over here is your income foundation being $4,000 a month, right? And this one over here is your lifestyle, which equals $6,000 a month. Well, we know right in the middle of that, there's a gap. And I think the hardest part, again, looking Mount Everest, is how do you fill that, right? Because climbing that mountain, you had really no pressure because you can rely on your employer-sponsored plan. You can rely on your own work efforts, if you will, to make you whole. And so now when you're coming down that mountain and you're in that distribution phase, the anxiety or fear is how do you fill it? And then the next step to that is how do you continuously fill it after you've gotten past some of those retirement checklists, if you will, that bucket list. How do you maintain your retirement? As you mature in your retirement, how do you go through things like the taxation of retirement, the longevity of retirement, the sequence of return in retirement? Naturally, as people progress, they tend to become more conservative. That's even a bigger fear for us as advisors, is because we kind of lose sight of what it took to get them there. So we've got to continuously put that back together. So it's a great chapter. I can go on, for days. You being a CPA, Seville, and I from the tax side of it, I'm sure you see that as well, right? The significance of filling that gap. It's a big issue.
It is, absolutely. And I think, like you said, I love your analogy of Mount Everest, but I also think that it's great thinking about those first few years as being a bit more of a challenge, because that's something we see with our clients all the time. As they're getting ready to enter retirement, or if they're newly into retirement, those first few years are transition years, and there's a lot to look out for. So having somebody there to help you and having a book like this to kind of help you guide the way is very important.
It is. It's nothing more than a guide, right? It's nothing more than kind of some direction, because as you said, there's a bit of insecurity. There's a bit of, there's questions, right? But I think that having somebody there to support you, having a backbone and someone there to coach you through these things, because as we always say, most people they just simply don't know what they don't know, right? And without a good coach, right, retirement coach, it's hard to navigate these roads.
Absolutely.
So it's there.
Just like I don't think anybody would climb Mount Everest without a guide as well. So
Right.
there you go.
I agree with that.
Well, again, great information, Alex. Thank you so much. If you would like to purchase the book, again, it's available on Amazon, and also you can call into the office, make an appointment with Alex, and you can go home with a signed copy yourself. We'll be back soon.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
This week's tax tip is all about HSAs, or healthcare savings accounts. HSAs are a great way to save money for your family's healthcare expenses. They're also a great way to put aside money for healthcare expenses you're going to incur in retirement. The most important thing to know when investing in an HSA is whether or not you're eligible. If you're in a high deductible healthcare plan, odds are you're eligible to invest in an HSA. You also need to be mindful of the year-to-year limits on HSAs that change, whether you're investing for your family as a whole or for yourself as an individual. If you're unsure whether or not you're able to invest in an HSA, look at your healthcare plan and also inquire with your financial institution. That's this week's tax tip on HSAs.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
I'm Alexander Joyce, President and CEO of ReJoyce Financial. If you're in retirement or near retirement, with all life's changes, it never hurts to get a second opinion. Managing expectations is the foundation of a prosperous relationship. Our goal is simple. We want to get to know you. So pick up the phone and make an appointment for a complimentary visit. There is no cost, no obligation. We simply want to get to know you and see if we can add value to your life in retirement. We can discuss topics like income planning, sequence of return risk, taxes and estate planning, Social Security maximization, and much more. Let us help you develop strategies that can develop a successful retirement. If you want to know more about successful retirement strategies, then call now, schedule a visit, and let us help you rejoice in your retirement.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Welcome back, and what we want to discuss today is our retirement blueprint. It's extremely important to understand the pillars that are involved in this. We've said it multiple times, you probably know, we always say well-established expectations is the roadmap to a prosperous relationship. We've defined what our process is, but within our process there's pillars really. There's elements that we must understand more about, and we also think while we're doing it is you should understand what these things are as well. So one of the fundamental pieces of our retirement blueprint is creating income. So there's multiple ways to do that, which is a completely other segment, but we want to make sure that the first thing that we have in mind is replacing your income. But again, it is natural that when someone walks through our office and we sit down and we start the process of understanding what the goals are, and they're used to making $4,000 a month, and we say, okay, so how much retirement income are you really looking for? Knowing that your income currently is around $4,000 a month, it's no surprise that they say, well, probably $10,000 a month, right? The goal is they want to maximize their income and hopefully, if not more, replace the income that they've been living on their whole lives. So it's very important to understand that there's a process to this. And one of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to mess this piece up, right? You want your income to be very reliable, very sustainable, and very predictable. And that's one of the first pillars of our retirement blueprint, creating income, making sure you have that income and you never outlive it, okay? We also want to make sure that we understand how the investment piece works in our retirement blueprint. We have a philosophy for this, and one of the things that we must go through as you really progress in your retirement is understanding what our investment philosophy is, understanding how we're going to manage the assets, understanding what your risk tolerance is, understanding what your long-term goals are, because we understand that these things change as well, what your appetite for risk is. That's what this arm does. It's also very important to understand working with our CPAs because, again, we are full service. We've got CPAs in the firm. We've got estate planners in the firm. We're doing income planning in the firm. We're checking off these boxes all under one roof. So that's a very big takeaway. If you were to ask why ReJoyce Financial is different, there's a big piece right there. But the tax piece is, when you're working with a CPA, and there's a lot of good ones. Some of my personal friends, and I love them. But the fact is, a lot of CPAs don't do what's called the tax analysis arm. And so a lot of them they're doing the accounting piece, they're accounting for the documents, and then they're filing the documents. One of the things what we're looking at more closely, if you will, so this arm knows what this arm is doing, is we're looking at the efficiency factors in a portfolio. You see, one of the things we don't want to do is focus so heavily on returns that we're making you think that you have to take more risk to create more returns. We're more looking for what the efficiency factors in the portfolio. If we can make the portfolio more efficient 10, 15, 20 years from now, and it adds double digits of efficiencies to the portfolio, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's return as well, okay? So that's what that arm is doing. We also have to make sure we account for longevity. There was a 4% rule that was established many, many years ago, and it's not as reliable as it used to be, although still a good rule of thumb. The 4% withdrawal rule was, of course, you take 4% out of the portfolio, you index it with inflation, you use your Social Security as a supplement, and of course, you had a pension. We know one thing is very, very certain is pensions are now getting ready to be dinosaurs, if you will, and Social Security is very unstable and very unpredictable. We don't know what are happening with those things. So one of the things we want to focus on, understanding that people are living longer, is we look at this longevity arm as a risk. How do we sit down and understand what the longevity risk is to the portfolio, and how do we make sure that we're not putting too much pressure on that arm to be able to jump over hurdles in life that are simply out of our control? Longevity, again, could be health related, ladies and gentlemen. Long-term care insurance may not be the answer, but again, sitting down with your advisor and coaching through those things to be able to understand the level of importance, that's what we're trying to do with that arm, okay? And of course, legacy. One of the things we do when we sit down with our clients is we simply ask them what the differences are. What the differences are in terms of what your goal is for the assets. Is it leave on or is it live on? To us, those are two distinct phases of a retirement. Those are two distinct phases of asset classes. And we have to be able to look at them and make sure that you understand what we're doing when we have that fork in the road. So this is our retirement blueprint. And we again lay this out because we want to give you a sense of security and a sense of peace of mind knowing that our process is there, right? It's a systematic approach that you can just take and ride out for your retirement. So if you'd like to learn more about this or see if it's a good fit for you, please do not hesitate to give us a call. The consultations cost nothing, only value, and only a little bit of your time. Stay tuned, folks. There's more to come.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Do you remember this? How about that? Do you remember? The journey to retirement hasn't always been easy. I'm Alexander Joyce. Let us build a retirement plan you can rely on, a financial plan that gives you confidence and peace of mind, a legacy plan that protects them, and let us start that process today. And let us help you rejoice in your retirement. There's some things in life we can always get back. Money, that's one of them. But time, that can never be replaced. Your kids, grandkids, they don't care how big your house is or the type of car you drive. The time they spend with you, that's what matters most. Allow us to help take your financial concerns away so you can enjoy the more important things in life. Call us today at 317-903-9157. Schedule a no-obligation visit and rejoice in your retirement. I'm Alexander Joyce, President, CEO of ReJoyce Financial. Getting the education you need for a successful retirement is key. That's why I've written my second book, Rejoice in Your Retirement, Everything You Need to Know to Get Everything You Want. The book covers topics like identifying the income gaps, new ideas for investing, taxes and retirement, your legacy beyond dollars and cents, and much more. I've written this in an easy-to-understand format so that just about anyone can get the most out of it. To get a copy of Rejoice in Your Retirement, Everything You Need to Know to Get Everything You Want, you can go to Amazon. But if you're one of the first callers, you can get a complimentary signed copy of this book just by scheduling a no-cost, no-obligation visit. This book is packed with information that will help you get the most out of your retirement years.
If you want to know more about successful retirement strategies, then call now. Education is key. And let us help you rejoice in your retirement.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Welcome back. I'm Sevilla Beam, and I'm here with Alexander Joyce. We're learning more about his book, ReJoyce in Your Retirement. And we want to talk about Chapter 5 now. Who needs annuities? And I know annuities are one of those subjects that are out there that there's a lot of confusion surrounding them. What are annuities? Who are they best for? So walk us through a little bit about this chapter and what we can learn.
Sure. Annuities are complicated, first and foremost. And I think annuities for a long time have had a bad reputation. And, our firm, as you know, being a fiduciary, it isn't that we think that annuities are bad, ugly, good, because we're not in love with any financial product, right? I mean, first and foremost, we're in love with our clients. And so it isn't necessarily what we're looking at in terms of the annuity being a vehicle independent from anything else. We just want to make sure that we're not missing anything and we're not overlooking anything because of our own personal biases. And so what I wanted to do in this chapter was not really explain so much as to how we feel about it, because we personally we don't have any feeling versus an annuity versus a mutual fund versus a bond.
It's just another tool.
It's just another tool, right? And what we wanted to share is we wanted to give some education as to the variances, right? The options that are available to people. We do see a lot of annuities walk in our office, and we see some that fit really well in the financial plan, if you will, and we see some that simply don't. In the same way that we would see or feel with a mutual fund versus an ETF versus a bond. When we're doing the analysis and we're understanding the tolerance, right, in terms of risk and the time horizon versus the scope of retirement, we see sometimes it doesn't fit, right? It could fit, it could not fit. But what we wanted to do is give the differences in the types, if you will, versus MYGA, which is a multi-year guaranteed annuity, versus variable, which is kind of walks, talks, smells like a mutual fund, if you will. Principal is exposed. There's a little bit more risk versus a fixed, if you would. And then one big one in the industry, which is a fixed indexed, which is still kind of a fixed vehicle, but still has an indexed component as a benchmark for performance. But more than anything, right, as crazy as all this may sound, right, we wanted to give a roadmap as to the definitions that people should understand before making a decision as to if an annuity is good for them or not. Most importantly, what we wanted people to understand is we want to give them a sense of holistic approach to make sure they're not purchasing any financial vehicle, right, outside of understanding what the true goal is of the retirement plan. Mm-hmm. Has to be goal-based. What is the goal-based approach? What is the purpose of using this? If we're buying a fixed annuity and we're hoping for market gains, which certainly doesn't fit. If we're looking at a multi-year guaranteed annuity as a fixed income alternative, maybe it could fit. If we're kind of trying to hedge interest rate risk or market risk, depending on the risk tolerance of the client. But more than anything, Civilla, we wanted to give some foundational definitions as to purposes or reasons why these are used, take out our own personal biases, and make sure people have a clear understanding of how they work so they can make educated decisions if they're buying them on a retail level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and I think it's so important. So much of what we discuss that's in this book, it's about just terminology and just understanding the basics, which is so important going into retirement planning. So I think there's just so much good information in here. And if you're interested in learning more about this terminology and everything else that surrounds retirement, you can find the book on Amazon. You can also call into Alex's office, make an appointment with Alex, and you can leave with an autographed copy that same day. Thanks so much. We'll be right back.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
This week's tax tip is all about staying organized. When it's time to file taxes, the name of the game is being organized in order to take advantage of all the credits and deductions that are available to you. Whether it's student loan interest, real estate taxes paid to the state of Indiana, credits that you're eligible for, and other deductions, you need to make sure you have all your documents in order to be able to claim these credits and deductions. It's also important to make sure that year to year you have the same documents available to either your preparer or for yourself when you're preparing them. These may be documents such as your investment documents, your mortgage interest, and documents like these change year to year. So it's important that as you get these documents, or if you're receiving documentation throughout the year that may change your credits and deductions, that you keep an ongoing tax file. Come tax time, it'll make life a whole lot easier for you or your tax preparer. That's this week's tax tip on staying organized for taxes.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
I'm Alexander Joyce, President and CEO of ReJoyce Financial. If you're in retirement or near retirement, with all life's changes, it never hurts to get a second opinion. Managing expectations is the foundation of a prosperous relationship. Our goal is simple. We want to get to know you. So pick up the phone and make an appointment for a complimentary visit. There is no cost, no obligation. We simply want to get to know you and see if we can add value to your life in retirement. We can discuss topics like income planning, sequence of return risk, taxes, and estate planning, Social Security maximization, and much more. Let us help you develop strategies that can develop a successful retirement. If you want to know more about successful retirement strategies, then call now, schedule a visit, and let us help you rejoice in your retirement.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Welcome back, and what we want to do today is just focus on Social Security, the complexities of it. Of course, it is very complex if you've dug very deep in how Social Security truly works or how it affects your overall retirement plan. In fact, it really does. We've always said that anytime you are faced with making a Social Security decision, you should always see or seek advice, but make sure you're looking at it in conjunction with an overall income plan. It is a part of your retirement income foundation as we would look at it, okay? So let's just really kind of walk through slowly, simply about what's current, what's relevant about Social Security, but please know in the future these things could change. And as they do, we'll all be the last to know. That's a fact. So at 62 is what's considered still early retirement. You can choose to work or not choose to work, but if you choose to work, please know that there could be penalties involved if you choose to take your Social Security benefits. At 62, you're eligible for 75% of your Social Security retirement. 25% of those benefits will be gone forever, okay? Knowing that there are penalties if you choose to continue working full-time, that number happens to be $17,640. So if you make, I dare say most of us do, more than $17,000, $18,000 a year, you can be penalized $1 for every $2 you make. It's also very important to understand the taxation of Social Security. To make it simple, Social Security could be taxed up to 85%. That's 0, 50, 85%. So let's just make it simple and say you continue to work, you receive 75% of your benefits, and your Social Security is then taxed at 85%. Are you really on track to retire early if you chose to? I dare say getting advice could be the best thing that you could do. 66 in some months, if you would, is considered full retirement age. Maybe you've heard acronyms like FRA, that stands for full retirement age. Of course, there's 66 in some months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, whatever yours happens to be. That's when you were eligible for 100% of your benefits. It also means that you can work as much as you want with no penalties to you. Taxation on Social Security benefits at 0, 50, or 85 still do apply. So understand that. From full retirement age, if you will, 66, making it simple, to 70, you're eligible for what's called delayed credits. Those delayed credits have no economic factor tied to them, so the market doesn't have to do well or very poor for you to get that 8% compounding effect on your Social Security benefits. So, meaning you'll get 32% more or 132% of the pot. So when someone says, or you get a flyer in the mail asking you to come to dinner with them, right? And it says, let us show you a way to maximize your Social Security benefits. It's very, very important to understand what that truly means.
Maximization doesn't mean optimization. Optimization is the optimized strategy for your situation, how it relates to your overall income and financial plan. That is optimizing your benefits. Please know, maximization just simply means deferring to age 70. That's how you maximize your benefits. Well, do you no good to delay past that? You're just throwing money out of the room. So let's kind of put it all together, okay? Making sure we look at Social Security, how it relates to you, what your goals are, the taxation behind it, and understanding that there's no real advice the administration can give you based on the way that you personally should maximize those benefits. Having said all that, you need advice. Okay, you just simply need advice. And it has to be correlated with your plan. You need tax advice, you need management advice, you need planning advice, you need income planning advice, and that's what our firm does exactly. We understand how taxes work in retirement. We understand how Social Security works in retirement. Our clients have success stories when it comes to this. We look at these small details that could affect your retirement down the road. Going through this, if something like this is of concern to you, or you have questions about how Social Security impacts your retirement, how taxation is calculated on Social Security in your retirement, do not hesitate to call. There's loopholes, okay? There's optimized strategies. Let us show you the way. Don't hesitate. Pick up the phone and call today. Stay tuned. There's more show to come.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
I'm Alexander Joyce, President and CEO of ReJoyce Financial. If you're in retirement or near retirement, with all life's changes, it never hurts to get a second opinion. Managing expectations is the foundation of a prosperous relationship. Our goal is simple. We want to get to know you. So pick up the phone and make an appointment for a complimentary visit. There is no cost, no obligation. We simply want to get to know you and see if we can add value to your life in retirement. We can discuss topics like income planning, sequence of return risk, taxes, and estate planning, Social Security maximization, and much more. Let us help you develop strategies that can develop a successful retirement. If you want to know more about successful retirement strategies, then call now, schedule a visit, and let us help you rejoice in your retirement.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Thank you so much for watching today's Retirement Halftime Show. If you've got any questions about today's show, give us a call, go to our website, and remember, maintain your lead in retirement. We'll see you next time.